So this is chapter 3 of Daily Laws, and we're just exploring various concepts. And one of the concepts that stood out to me in chapter 3 was this whole narrative of the importance of movement. And it states, quote, "Do not waste time on things you cannot change or influence. Just keep moving." End of quote. So what's your opinion in the sense of this whole concept of the importance of movement? Do you agree? Do you not agree?
Well, I would say I would generally agree, but I think there's a number of caveats to that. So I think it's a generally well understood point that if you can't influence, what is the point of wasting energy on it? But on the other hand, you have to take account of things that are standing in your way. And whilst you can't influence that thing, whatever it might be, directly, surely whatever it is that stands in your path has the power to influence how you do other things, how you make other decisions. I guess, for example, if you, in a very practical sense, you can't do anything about the traffic jam on one road, you might reset your sat-nav to take another route. So I think what it is saying is that you may not want or be able to change a particular issue that is an obstacle or whatever, but surely you take account of it.
Yeah.
A second point is that how do you know? How can you test that you can't change or influence something? Is that an assumption or is it a fact? And the level of importance of that matter, then I think will persuade you to find creative ways to think whether maybe you can change it. We can't necessarily assume that something is unchangeable or uninfluenceable.
That's a good point, because it's almost like the premise. Sometimes you have to challenge the premise of can things be changed? And I guess once you've challenged the premise, then it's about establishing what's the most important way to keep moving. I guess maybe you could give an example. I could think of a couple of examples. Say, for example, if you're a boxer and you're unable to get the opportunities or get the fights that you want to get, and it's out of your control because that would be the remit of a promoter. So you can't control that, but what you can control is training every day. You can control keeping yourself in shape, having good sparring, etc. I guess maybe it's the same assertion with a writer as well. It's like you might not be able to control getting an agent, or maybe you can control that. But I guess there may be certain instances where it would be difficult to control that. But maybe you could, or you definitely can, have a form of control in being a consistent writer, turning up every day with your cup of coffee, writing to try and get better at your craft. But I think once you've established that maybe you can't change something, then it is important to keep moving and keep progressing. So I think there's some validity to that statement. So this is a brief intermission. I sincerely hope you're enjoying the journey. And if you are enjoying the journey, please consider to like and subscribe. I repeat, consider to like and subscribe. And with that being said, let's get back to the program. So another gem that stood out to me in this chapter, and I'll quote it specifically, is, quote, "Constantly remind yourself of how little you know and how mysterious the world remains." End of quote. And to me, I think this is important because I think a lot of people have a confirmation bias about how much they know about themselves and how much they know about the world. So I think this whole thing of reminding ourselves of the mystery of the world is good for our evolution, and it's good for our perspective. Do you agree with that? Is the world mysterious, or would you challenge that? What's your opinions on that?
Well, both really. So I would definitely agree that it is ultimately mysterious, and I don't think there's anyone in any discipline who can claim otherwise. However, it does seem to me that we live, and we can live in the real world at a level that we can understand very well. As a result of our evolution and so on, we have the capacity to understand things at the level at which we need it. So just to explain what I mean by the level of understanding for this, let's take our understanding of a cup. One level of explanation is that it has a certain shape, and due to the force of gravity, not that physicists would call it a force anymore, it's able to contain and retain liquids within its boundaries in such a state that it can be put into your mouth and drunk. So that's a level of explanation which makes complete sense for our everyday needs. At another level, there's the explanations of how the wave functions of the subatomic particles interact with this and are entangled with other particles, wave functions at the other end of the universe, and so on. And again, that's a level of explanation which is just as valid, but it exists on a different dimension. So my answer to that question, I think, is that we need to understand things at the level for which it is relevant to us. And in that sense, much of life isn't much of a mystery. We can understand it, we can make sense of it, we can navigate our way through it.
So I guess to conclude chapter 3 with the certain concepts that we've discussed, we've ascertained that yes, it's good not to waste our time on things we cannot change, but we have to understand the premise of can we change it or not. So yes, if we can't change something, we need to keep it moving, but also we need to sometimes maybe challenge that premise of can we or can't we change it. And with regards to the world being mysterious, on one hand, it's good to say that yes, the world is mysterious, but on the other hand, through science and through a lot of advancements, the world becomes less mysterious. So I guess it's what filter we put it through. So that's the end of the video. If you enjoyed this experience, then please share on your social media. Thank you.